My name is Vesna Karapetrova, and we're here today at Canadian Macedonian Place on August the 20th, 2014, to interview a great Canadian Macedonian businessman, entrepreneur, and a great leader in the Macedonian community here in Toronto. We're here to interview Mr. John Bitove. Mr. John Bitove, welcome. And thank you for sharing your story with us here for the Macedonian Archives of the Canadian Macedonian Historical Society. Can you restart the interview with just letting us know when you were born and where?
Well, first of all, I consider this a great honor, and I appreciate the opportunity. I was born here in Toronto in 1928 at the corner of Broadview and Queen. And in a true Macedonian house, because we spoke nothing else but Macedonian in our home. And I don't think I spoke any English until I started to go to public school, which was, I guess, at 5 or 6 years of age.
And your parents, who they were and where they were born?
My mother and father were both born in a village, Gabrish, Kosovsko, Macedonia. And they left Gabrish and went to Bitove with my father's family, his mother and father and sister, because her husband was the Bulgarian school teacher in the village. And when the Greeks came and closed the school, he then moved to Bitove. And the entire family moved there, and that's where my mother and father got married. And then my brother was born in Bitove.
And what language did your parents speak?
Well, we only spoke Macedonian. We never spoke any other language. My parents never knew any Greek of any kind or any other language, really.
And in terms of your siblings, you mentioned your brother was born in Bitola.
Yes.
Can you tell us their names?
Dimitri was his name. He was born in Bitove in I guess it was, he's 5 years older than me, 6 years older than me, so 1922.
And your sister?
My sister was 3 years older than me, so she must have been born in 1925.
And was she also born in Bitola? Or
no, I'm sorry, she was born in Toronto also.
Okay, and we actually have a wonderful picture of your siblings.
That's my sister and myself in the center and my brother. It's Dimitri and my sister Milka, and that's me.
And you're the baby.
They used to call me, and my name was Lazo.
And Mr. Bitove, can you tell us about your grandparents, who they were?
My grandparents from my mother's side and my father's side were both from the village of Gabrish. But my grandparents from my father's side went with my father and his family to Bitove. So they moved to Bitove, as I said, and my grandfather from my mother's side was in the village of Gabrish, Kosovsko, Macedonia. He was a very religious, fanatical man, and he spent most of his time in monasteries and whatnot. And he came to Canada back in I think it was 1938. We brought him to Canada.
Have your parents, did your parents share some stories about Gabrish that are imprinted in your mind about their village life their village life in Macedonia?
Oh, very much so. Yes, especially when the Greeks came and how the Turks treated them. Oh, yes.
And what were their recollections?
Well, in the end, it was amazing, but they started to say how much better the Turks were than the Greeks.
Because?
Because the Greeks forbid them to speak the language completely and 100%, as you know, and the Turks at least allowed them to speak their language. So, you know, being able to speak your language is something very important in life. But they were, by all means, they were Under Greek, it was, I guess, it couldn't have been worse. I mean, they weren't allowed to speak their language, they weren't allowed to do anything, and they were forbidden.
And you have an audio tape or a tape of one of the relatives of your wife who recollects all of those experiences?
Yes, from my mother-in-law. From actually, it's from the time she was a little child, 3-4 years old, talking about how the Turks left and how the Greeks took over in 1911 and 1910 and 1912, and how miserable the Greeks were to the Macedonians.
Because they made them
well, they forbid them to speak any Macedonian whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Whereas with the Turks, they were allowed to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and in terms of your parents, why did they come to Canada?
Well, like everybody, looking for freedom and I guess a better way of life. Mm-hmm. Life was not that wonderful over there. It was poor, it was poverty, and everybody heard about America, and everybody wanted to come to America because it was the place to go and live. So everybody wanted to come to America to live.
And can you tell us about your father? I understand he's the first who came, and came a couple of times.
Well, there was several from our village that came. My uncle probably, it's unbelievable when you think about it, but my mother's brother came here at the age of 10 and a half. And you wonder how a young boy going to this new world, which was another world in those days, North America, coming all the way to North America to make a life. And he was, that was my mother's brother, and he was 10 and a half years old, and he came here and settled here and became the leader of our village, actually.
What is his name?
Labrotenekev. He was the leader of the Macedonian community in those days in the city of Toronto. He did an awful lot for the community. He was involved in the church life. He was involved in the organizational life. And he actually organized to bring over all our village people. And he used to get together with 3 or 4 or 5 village people and say, you're giving so much money, and we're going to bring this family over next month. Mm-hmm. And then it was another family, and it wound up that just about our whole village came to Toronto. Some went to Detroit, but the majority of them by far came to Toronto.
Mm-hmm. And when your father came here, can you tell us a little bit about his passage, his voyage?
Well, he had he first came with his father, and they settled here in Toronto, and they made a couple of $1,000. And when they went back, they converted the money in France to francs. By the time they got back to Macedonia, the French bank had gone bankrupt. So they had lost the value of their money. So naturally they were heartbroken, and my father decided to come back again. And this time he came back alone. He came to, actually twice he came to New York, to Ellis Island, and they deported him back because he didn't have proper documentation. So the third time he went to Cuba, and he was smuggled into Cuba. And then from Cuba he was smuggled into Florida. And from Florida he came up to Windsor, to Detroit. And the Macedonians told him to leave as quickly as he could because they were looking for illegal immigrants. So they put him on a rowboat at nighttime to cross the Detroit River into Windsor. And he got to Windsor, he got on a train, came to Toronto. So, you know, they lived quite an adventurous and terrible life.
Very much. And when he settled in Toronto, what did he do?
Well, he went to my uncle, who was the first one here, and had already started a business. So he went to work for him as a butcher.
Meat business?
In the meat business, yeah. It was called Louis' Meat Market. It was down the corner of Sackville and Queen. Virginia probably remembers it.
And your uncle is Louis?
My uncle's name was Louis, yes, Labrotenekev, actually. Mm-hmm. And so, anyways, he went there to work and decided to bring over my mother and brother, and did.
And when they came here, then you were born a few years later.
My sister was born first, before me, and then I was born in 1928.
And as you were growing up in a Macedonian family, what are your favorite memories, boyhood memories of your life with your parents?
Well, when we were children, we used to spend every night down at the Macedonian Hall. There was a Macedonian Hall down at Trinity and Eastern Avenue, and it was called Macedonian Narodny Dom. And we used to be there every night. That was our life. We were there with all our relatives and friends every night of the week.
And everybody was Macedonian?
Oh, absolutely.
And what language did you speak?
Macedonian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you started to go to school here in Canada. And
Yes.
tell us about what life was like when you started school.
Well, I wasn't an admirer of school. I guess from a young boy I always wanted to get into business at a young age, and that's what I did. I went to public school, and from public school I went 1 year to high school, and I quit high school, and I started to work for my father, and then I got into business, and I was been in business ever since.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Bitove, you told us a little bit about being here in Canada in your primary years in school and feeling like a foreigner. Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, yeah, we weren't accepted as foreigners. We weren't accepted. We weren't allowed to associate or mix with them. They used to call us dirty Dagos and dirty foreigners, and they wouldn't allow us to mix with them, the English and the Irish and so on.
They wouldn't let you play games together?
Oh, hell, definitely not. Definitely not. They didn't want us on their teams, and it was really bad in those days when I was a young boy going to school. It was fights every day. And,
fights between?
Foreigners and English people, and we were brought up in a real English area.
Yes.
Where there's very few foreigners.
You lived at?
I lived at Queen and Jones Avenue down there, but it was mostly English people. And so anyways, us few foreigners, and there were only few, 5 or 6 of us, we hung around together, and they used to say, look at the foreigners hang around together. Well, the only reason we hung around together is because they wouldn't accept us. They didn't want us. So it was that kind of a life in those days. You know, Virginia was brought up in Park School where there was all kinds of foreigners. So they were brave there and strong there.
But that built a lot of resilience in you as you were growing up, correct?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know, people don't realize how bad it was. If I was walking down the street with my mother and we were talking Macedonian, a police officer saw us talking Macedonian, he'd tap us on the shoulder and tell us speak English. I mean, they wouldn't accept it. The meat inspectors and all the health inspectors and whatnot used to come in my dad's butcher shop. If they heard my dad talking Macedonian, they'd say, you goddamn foreigner, I'm going to close you up if you keep that up. It was really, really bad when I was a young boy. It was really bad up until the war, the Second World War. And the Second World War seemed to change everything.
There was more of an influx of...
Oh, absolutely. And then after the war, naturally, it was everything went in a different way. But up until the war, I mean, it was... You know, I always say, thank God there was Lester B. Pearson. I'm not a liberal, but thank God there was Lester B. Pearson, who was a liberal, who created the right to call ourselves Canadians and created the national anthem, O Canada. Because up until that time, we were British subjects. There was no such thing as a Canadian. All the passports, everything, were British subject. So, and if you went across the border, when you used to go across the border, I mean, that's what you said you were British.
And you said that when you went to school, you didn't particularly like being there. Now I can see why, with some of the incidences that you described. At a very early age, you opened up your own business. And you were only 21, I understand, when you first opened your first restaurant. Can you tell us the motivation behind why you wanted to get into business?
Well, I guess I was brought up in a home that catered to business. My father was in business, and my father was thinking of retiring at that point in time, and so my brother and I decided to open up a restaurant. And we bought the property up on Avenue Road and built a little restaurant. And my wife and I were, and my sister were the only employees of it. It was just a small place.
And what was the name?
Java Shop. That's not the true employees there. I had my sister-in-law and my cousins dress up
Okay, maybe you can tell us.
with uniforms to make it look like I had a large staff.
Yes, it looks very official.
But the truth of the matter is, it was just my wife and my sister that were my employees.
And that was the opening day at your restaurant.
That was 1949.
Mr. Bitove, with that modest start at with the Java shop, you really grew the business shortly afterwards. Can you tell us a little bit about how your business ventures in the restaurant business continued?
Well, I was interested in the business. I liked the business, and I wanted to expand and grow bigger, so I did. I also became a manufacturer of restaurants. I used to build restaurants, and I built many restaurants, I guess a few hundred in Canada. But I liked the idea of operating them and creating new restaurants, so I opened up quite a few different types of restaurants many, many years ago that became famous at their time. And I just enjoyed the satisfaction of satisfying customers.
And did your father have a restaurant business?
No, my father had strictly a small butcher shop on the East End.
So you decided to open up a restaurant business on your own?
Right.
Great. And then from your restaurant businesses, that continued. I know that much has been written about your success. In 1983, you were awarded the food and beverage catering contract for the Toronto Pearson International Airport. And in 87, you obtained a catering rights to the Sky Dome. So these are, and then later on you formed the Bitove Corporation, which was the largest privately held food service company. So these are great accomplishments as
well, they were great because of my children, really. They were the ones that really wanted to, as much as I didn't want them to be part of my business, they wanted to be part of my business. So they got involved in my business, even though they went to university and graduated from university with different degrees and so on. They still wanted to be part of my business. So gradually they took it over.
And also you received a great honor in 1989, the Order of Canada. I believe you're very few Macedonian descent people who have received one of these orders. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, can you tell us about your recollection when you received this award?
Well, I've forgotten the year that it was. I guess it says there.
Yes, 1988.
1988. I received it for, I guess, my involvement in public life and other activities that I was involved in. I heard just recently, the past week, that I'm nominated now for there's another Order of Canada which is higher than this, and supposedly I will receive that shortly.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Among the great success that you've had as an entrepreneur, businessman, you're well known in the Canadian community as well as in the Macedonian community. While you were very successful doing your business ventures, you also helped to build this place, Canadian Macedonian Place, and I know you were involved right from the start. Can you tell us about the beginnings of Canadian Macedonian Place, how it started way back with the inception of the idea and then the creation of it?
Let me go back.
Yes.
Start with my parents. First of all, my parents were very caring and giving people, and My mother had a heart of gold, and she always believed those who help will receive. And she used to preach that very strongly. Fortunately, I had children that believe in the same pattern of life. And fortunately, my children give and have been involved in many charitable different organizations. And we've done it all our lives, and we will continue to do it because we've been fortunate enough to be able to do it. Now, your question specifically was, I'm sorry?
About Canadian Macedonian Place and how it, the idea, how it was conceived.
Let me tell you exactly how it started.
That would be great.
My wife and I visited my mother's uncle, who was in a senior citizen home here in Toronto. And we went to the home, and the poor individual was Diddle Numo. He was Kizov. He was in this room by himself, sitting in a corner on the floor. And we walked in, and we asked him why he was sitting there and why he was doing this. And he was telling us how afraid he was that people will come in and speak to him in English, and he can't talk back, can't speak English. So it was right then and there that the thought was born with my wife. She right away said, we must do something about this. This is wrong. And on the way out, we talked about maybe, building a senior citizen home and so forth. And that's where the idea was born, really, is from my grandfather's brother, who we visited, and saw this sad, sad situation where the man could not speak his own language, and he feared people coming and talking to him and sitting in a corner of a room. It was a very sad experience. So we took it at heart and got involved with people, and fortunately there was a lot of people that were interested. We had problems at the start. Different people wanted to call it different names and so forth and so on. But in the end, we're fortunate enough with a lot of good people to have accomplished what we accomplished.
And what were some of the and who were some of the people? I understand, right, from the Church St. George's. There was a group of people involved with you.
Well, there was at first the MPO was a big instigator wanting to see it done, and that wasn't going anywhere because a lot of people didn't like the MPO. And
why was that? Can you just give us a little bit of insight?
Well, I guess they just didn't want any political organization to run it, or any one church to run it. So I think then the idea was born and came to us very quickly that really this has got to be, it can't be supported by one church and it can't be supported by one organization. It's got to be supported by the community at large. And so we just did away with all that. We did go to all the different church boards and whatnot and asked them to participate and help us and so forth and so on, which they did. And based on that, we were able and capable to put a group together that wanted to build this home for the Macedonian community.
Mm-hmm. Who were some of the people involved who worked shoulder to shoulder together?
There's one of them right there, Virginia Stoimanov. She was involved right from day one. There's Chris Pellier, there's Dr. Alec Georgievsky, there's Van Petrov. I guess they were more or less the main instigators. There was quite a few of us at the time.
And I understand...
George Rosas, Igor Bitovsky.
Okay. And I understand your wife, Doca, also had quite an involvement in terms of...
Yeah, she did. And we saw this property for sale, and we phoned a couple of real estate agents, and I think they said the price was about 800 and some thousand. So my wife said, you know what, I'm going to call Garfield Weston and see if I can make a deal. And she called up the Mr. Garfield Weston, and she made an
was?
My wife did, and she made an appointment with him, and she went up there, and she called me at the office and said, I made a deal. I hope you accept it, which was half the price that they were asking.
and Garfield
Weston.
Weston. Can you tell us who he was for our younger
Well,
viewers?
Garfield Weston is Canada's richest man. He's owns Weston Food. He owns Loblaws. He owns Shoppers Drug Mart. And he's one of the wealthiest families in the world, in Canada.
And he helped your wife because he knew your wife?
Well, he didn't know her. She didn't know him. She just phoned up and asked to see him. And fortunately, he did see her, and she made the deal.
That's very impressive.
Yeah.
And I understand there was quite a group of ladies working alongside your wife
absolutely.
to make this
Absolutely.
home a reality.
Vasa Evans, and there was all kinds of them. My mind's gone blank. Virginia Stormenau's been involved from day one. There was all kinds of ladies involved, in which everybody supported.
Yes, that was third from the right, your wife being in the picture. A committed group of women, daughters of Macedonia, right?
Yeah. That they had an event. My wife organized an event at the Italian senior citizen home, and I think, if I remember right, they brought out 300 or 400 Macedonian ladies. And that's when my wife opened the meeting and suggested that they call it Daughters of Macedonia, and appointed Vasa Evans as the president, and asked for a unanimous vote, in which everybody supported.
Thank you. And about the land, what was the amount you mentioned? 400
I
and
think we paid about $420,000.
yeah, 404 and 520. I think in 1979 is what 1970. 77? Okay, I think we've got the approximate time there, but
Okay.
the most important thing being that Mrs. Bitove was definitely very, very successful in getting...
Oh yeah, that was a lot of nerve, believe me. My wife has a lot of nerve.
And it all started with the old age home and her relative sitting in the corner.
Well,
and
yeah, it was
feeling
actually my relative, but
your relative, but
that we visited. Yeah.
that's right. Now we have another wonderful picture. I think you did mention the architects and one of our Macedonian Rosos who helped. I think the architect Vaclav Kuchar.
Vasil Kuchar, yes.
Yes, he's Czechoslovakian, I believe.
Yes, he was. I think he passed away.
And one of our Macedonian Deca Begalci, Mr. Rosos,
Yes.
happened to be in Czechoslovakia as a Dete Begalec. So he had a connection with your architect right from the beginning, I believe. So it worked out really well. Now,
George Russell was a big help too.
Now, Mr. Bitove, I know that there was a lot of work that went into fundraising and all kinds of events to make Canadian Macedonian Place a reality. Can you talk about the work that was involved, your personal commitment and the community's involvement? Here we have a picture of former Prime Minister Maruni visiting, I believe, the home. There were a lot of fundraising events.
Well, yeah, the first one was at Hilton Hotel down on the lakeshore. At the Hilton
Harbourfront.
Hotel, and we had about and we had about 1,000 people, and we raised the largest sum that was ever raised from our community, and I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of about 300,000, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but anyways, it was a very successful evening and a successful event, and that gave us all the encouragement to go on.
And in terms of the time it took to build Canadian Macedonian Place, it was quite a few years, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, the planning took quite a while. We had to visit many places and make sure that we were going to build something that we'd be proud of and like, and had all the conveniences.
Right. Can you tell us a little about what motivated you to work so hard? I mean, these were very, very productive years for you with your own businesses as well. but yet you found the time to contribute to the building of this place as well.
Well, I guess a couple of things. One is, naturally, I saw the need for it based on what my wife and I experienced. But I think more importantly, I wanted to build something that was Macedonian. And I've been very much involved in the Macedonian community all my life. And I felt that we Macedonians, should not take a second place to anybody. And that we should be able and capable enough to be able to do things too. And that was probably one of the most encouraging things. My involvement in Macedonia has been there all my life, so.
Yes, tell us about your lobbying for the Republic of Macedonia in the 1990s. I know you spent a lot of time and effort in that respect. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I would say, first and foremost, fortunately we had a president called Bitove. He was a very able and capable man, and I would say it was because of him that we accomplished what we did. Because one would never realize how tough it was and how hard it was to get any country to accept us, because nobody recognized us as a country. Nobody recognized a race of people as Macedonians. And, I'll give you a prime example. I remember when we went to France, I forgot the Foreign Affairs Minister's name, but he told us that he wasn't going to waste a lot of time with a bunch of people there, a bunch of phonies that don't have a real true race, and that we were there as a bunch of phonies. And fortunately, Grigorov and myself, especially Grigorov, we sat there for about 4 hours explaining to him about the history of Macedonia. Finally, to the point where he arranged to see us the next day again, and brought in many more people, and then acknowledged the fact that he wanted to send people to Macedonia to study the situation. Now, the Americans wouldn't have anything to do with this whatsoever. Fortunately, I hired the former
Senator?
Right-hand man of Ronald Reagan. I had the former public relation company of the Kennedy family. I had about a dozen anyways of very powerful people from the United States.
Lobbying.
I took them all over to Macedonia to meet Grigorov, and we spent 4 or 5 days together in Ohrid. And fortunately, then they opened the door for Grigorov everywhere. They opened the door. For example, Hurd from England wouldn't have anything to do with us. All of a sudden, Hurd invited Grigorov to London. And the same thing happened in the United States. It just seemed like all of a sudden the doors started opening, because we spent a lot of money and a lot of time. But I must admit, Grigorov was a fantastic, intelligent individual. And whenever he sat, he talked for hours, but he would take control of the meeting. But we had a lot of powerful people with us. It cost us a lot of money.
And how did you know to do this? Did you have any political experience yourself here in Canada?
Oh, I've been involved in politics all my life.
Can you tell us a little about that?
Well,
major involvements.
I guess my first involvement was someone that was running against Mr. Trudeau, Robert Winters, who I admired and liked a lot, and who got defeated by a couple of votes by Mr. Trudeau at the time. But he got me involved in politics. And then Senator Keith Davey, who was one of the most powerful men in Canada, was a very good friend of mine. And whenever I wanted to know something, he always opened the door for me in Canada. He would open the door in the United States too. Like, I went to the United Nations through the MPO back 40, 50 years ago. I remember meeting the former Secretary of State of the United States. Oh, geez, I forgot his name. Anyways, who wanted to support us in the independence of Macedonia.
Back then?
Back then.
Wow.
And, we met many times with many different delegations in the United Nations. And I stupidly went on my own, financially on my own. And most of our people really were interested, but they weren't interested. If you know what I mean, they really didn't want to give the time or the money. And so in the end, I'd wind up paying for it myself. But we've still got a long way to go, and we have a real problem. What people don't really realize is the problem with the acceptance of Macedonia, and it will never happen under the Democratic Party in the United States of America. The Democratic Party is so popular with Greeks. The Greeks have such a big influence. They run it in places like Illinois and Arizona and so on and so forth. And so even if the party itself wanted to recognize us, they can't, because the Greeks are so powerful within it.
Yet the Republicans already recognized us under President Bush.
That's right, and it'll only happen if the Republicans get back into power. But as long as the Democrats are there, it just won't happen because of the influence of the Greeks.
And also, Mr. Bitove, besides being involved in the Macedonian community, I know you support many other causes. Can you mention just some of the organizations where you're on the board of directors?
Well, I'm not really on too many right now. As a matter of fact, I don't think I'm on any, am I, anymore? My family has pretty well taken over everything, and they're doing everything now for. I spend most of my time with my wife, who was and is a wonderful lady, and I was very fortunate and lucky to have her all the years that I have, and we've now built, my daughter has taken the initiative, and we've built a wellness center in her honor, and the Toronto General Hospital runs it for us, and hopefully to do good for others that have the same disease.
Mm-hmm. And if we go back when you first met your wife, can you tell us about your story?
My life was truly sight and love at first sight.
Is that right?
That's the truth.
Okay, where did you meet?
We met at an MPO convention in Indianapolis, Indiana, at the Claypool Hotel in 1949. No, 49 we got married. 47. She was coming in with her family from the car to the lobby of the hotel. A friend of mine had met her the year before and introduced me to her, and that was it. That was it. I met her then and fell in love with her, and that was it.
Did you know that she was from Toronto?
Pardon?
Did you know that she was from Toronto as well?
No, she was from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Oh, she was from the States at that time.
Yes.
And then how did the courtship develop?
How did?
The courtship develop.
Well, I phoned her every day, and I wrote a letter every day, and she wrote me a letter every day for 2.5 years.
Yes, that's quite a love story. That's wonderful. And how did your parents feel about the courtship?
Well, they kind of opposed it, but on the other hand, when they found out she was Macedonian, after they had met her, right away they fell in love with her. My mother did, especially, and my mother was a tough little cookie. Mm-hmm. If she didn't like you, she would tell you. And they got along, and that was it.
So you lived with your parents at the beginning?
Oh yes, I lived with my
Tell
parents.
us about that.
I was one of the most unusual. I lived with my parents for the first 3 children? with the first three children. And then I bought the house next door and lived next door. And my parents used to come just about every night to eat in our house.
And that was at?
I was very lucky that my wife got along with my mother and father right from the start.
And this is a picture of your wedding day?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And where did you get married? The church?
St. George's Church on Regent Street here in Toronto.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's the St. George Church. Was it mostly Macedonian people that were?
It was all Macedonians.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Macedonian Bulgarian, but it was all Macedonians.
Yes, that's always a little point of contention when we talk about the early Macedonian community here, that people belonged in the Macedonian Bulgarian churches, and they belonged to the MPO, and there's always a question of consciousness. The people who belonged in these churches who were Macedonian, did they feel Macedonian?
Oh, absolutely.
So the fact that they were called Bulgarian churches?
Well, let me put it this way. I forget the year it was, but I was involved. And I had the membership vote, and the membership voted 90-some% that they're Macedonian and not Bulgarian. And it was, you got to remember that there was no such thing as a Macedonian church before the Macedonian became a country in the Republic of Macedonia. Before that, our influence was from the Bulgarian church. And the Bulgarian churches ran our churches because they were the only ones that, it was the closest language. And it wasn't because our people wanted to be Bulgarian, they had no other choice.
So it had nothing to do with how they felt in their heart?
Absolutely not.
They felt
Macedonian.
And even though they belonged to the MPO?
When I had them take a vote, they voted 90-some% they're Macedonian.
This was the
MPO, members of the Church of St. George's.
St. George.
Yeah.
So it was primarily a Macedonian community.
Oh, absolutely.
And the same with the MPO, would you say? The people who were
absolutely, yes. Now, I would say it's different now, and I don't know. I'm not involved, and I haven't been for a number of years, but I think some of them have turned into Bulgarian fanatics. I don't think they know why, but they are.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit about your involvement with the Deca Begalci?
Well, I guess because my wife had quite a few Deca Begalci in Romania and Russia and Czechoslovakia and so on, and I had some.
Relatives.
One of the mothers sewed 2 $1 bills in the skirt of one of her daughters. That particular daughter wound up in Russia. And the reason she gave her the $2 was, wherever you go, write your Baba Lena in America, and here's the money to be able to buy the stamp, and tell her where you are. This is when they were taking the kids. So she went to Tashkent, and she wrote my mother-in-law, and my mother-in-law then made contact with her. And then through her, we made contacts with the other relatives in Romania and Poland and you name it, Bulgaria and so on. So in '84, when the Olympics was in Sarajevo, my wife and I are sitting there one night having dinner, and we said, wouldn't it be nice if we can get our relatives together? So I wondered, how the hell can I do it? But I had some friends in the Macedonian government, a bunch of them, Petre Chokarev and a whole bunch of them. And I phoned Petre and I said, Petre, can we organize my cousins from Poland, from Russia, whatnot, certain ones, I'll pay for their trips and whatnot, to bring them to Macedonia? He says, I don't know, we could try. Well, cut a long story short, they brought about 35, 40 of them there. And I booked the hotel then and the whole bit. And naturally we didn't know each other, and everybody's crying and hugging each other, and they're saying, I'm Sveta and I'm Stavro and so on and so forth. And that gave me then the idea to try to organize something bigger. And then that's why I got involved with Deca Bigalci then to organize what they did in '88.
The reunion.
Reunion, which was done in a wonderful way, and they really organized that one well.
Was the 40th reunion.
Yeah,
yes.
but the one we did in '84 was just a small one with our immediate relatives.
Family.
And then my wife wanted to visit them all, so we went to Bulgaria, we went to Russia looking for them, we went all over, and we brought some of them over from the old country.
And they're still here?
Yeah. And some of them, Sasa lives in what, Yugoslavia, in America.
And when you went with the Deca Bigalci for the 40th anniversary in 1988, can you tell us any highlights of that trip?
Well, I think it was just an unbelievable scene. I mean, I don't know if were you there?
I've seen some of the videos.
Well, they set up a couple of stages on this large parking lot, and people would get up to the microphone and say, "Jesi Lazo Bitove od sela Gabreš, barem sestra mi Milka, neko da ne znaje deka je Milka," and Milka would scream, "Milka, Jesi Milka." It was the most tear-jerking event you'd ever want to see. It was unbelievable.
This was the reunion of brothers and sisters that hadn't seen each other for 10, 20, maybe even more years, 30 sometimes.
Oh, it was so sad. It was really sad.
Yes, that was the result of the Macedonian people having to
But the
exile
people that really
during the war.
organized that were the Deca Bigalci from here.
Yes.
They were the ones that really organized it. I helped a little bit.
Okay, and now in terms of your own family here, can you tell us a little bit about your children?
Well, I'm fortunate that they all took after their mother. We have 5 wonderful children. Our daughter's the oldest one, and then we have 4 boys. They're associated with one another in some ways in business, in some ways they do their own thing.
And can we have their names right from Vana?
Well, Vana is named after my mother, and my son Nick is named after my father. My son Tom is named after my father-in-law. My son John is named after me, and Jordan is a name my wife liked.
And I know you mentioned earlier that your children are very much involved in the Bitove Corporation businesses. Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, I probably don't know that much nowadays because I'm not that involved, but I don't know, they have some real estate, they have different interests in different companies and whatnot.
And your daughter, yeah?
My daughter is very much involved in it. She's the oldest one.
Yes, and can you tell us a little about the charity foundation?
Well, she runs the charity foundation for the Bitove family, and we donate monies to different charities. We raise funds for different charities. And I think my wife and I have basically done that all our lives. We've been involved in different charities, and I think we've raised quite a few dollars over the years.
And again, your work with the charities. Can you tell us a little about your motivation and the motivation that your daughter has in continuing?
Well, right now we built a small Deca Bitove Wellness Center, which is run by the Toronto General Hospital. It's for people with Alzheimer's, and hopefully it will grow into a much bigger situation. We intend to expand it, and the hospital, like I say, is running it. We have nothing to do with the running of it, but it's to help people that are in real desire, real need with Alzheimer's.
Great.
And as you probably know, my wife has Alzheimer's, so.
It's very unfortunately, it's very common among people of. There are no boundaries. It affects many families.
Right.
It's wonderful that this center is being built and supported by you. It's, that just brings me to some other questions that maybe we just can go back to in terms of. Can you tell us a little about your daughter Vana, a little more, and about her upbringing and what inspires her to get involved in Macedonian causes?
Well, I guess the best person to ask is her, but I really believe all my 5 children are inspired and want to help in the Macedonian question in some way or another. I know Vana gets involved in different projects and helps in many different ways. My son John is very much involved in 2025, the business.
Yes, tell us a little about that, 2025, because I know it's an initiative that you definitely embraced with your family.
Well, I felt back a number of years ago we needed some kind of business arrangements to try to work with the business community in North America and Macedonia. So I got together with my son John and Michael Saporowski from Chicago and a few others and asked if they would be interested, which they were. And so they have formed this organization. I'm not taking much of an active part. My son John is. He's very active in it. And they work directly with the Macedonian government in trying to get any kind of business to go to Macedonia and do business.
Investments?
Plus they invest money of their own too, to help. So, you know, they're very much, I think it's a very good organization and they're helping very much.
Have you been to Macedonia lately yourself?
The last time I went was to receive the Order of Macedonia, which would have been, what, 3 years ago? 3 years ago? Yes, I received the Order of Macedonia about 3 years ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That goes well with your Order of Canada. And how do you feel about Macedonia, present-day Macedonia, and what is happening with the progress and the direction that it's going in?
I think Nikola Gruevski is the best thing that ever happened. I think Macedonia has made tremendous success. I think it's better off than any Balkan country. I have nothing but admiration and respect for Nikola Gruevski and his government. It's too bad he wasn't in from the start. But so far, I mean, they are doing a very good job, and I admire them for what they've done.
And you've definitely helped other Macedonian governments who were there earlier, who tried to help. I know you were greatly involved in the Macedonian drugs and food and medicine from Macedonia.
I was involved from the time of Lazo Kuruzhevsky, which was the first president of Macedonia Republic. I was kind of an oddball, kind of an idiot. I've always been so interested in the Macedonian question and cause. And people like Dimitar Vlakov, who most people don't even know who he was. I knew him, and I had met him, and I had stories. Ivan Mikhailov, I personally visited him, and he's a Bulgarian fanatic, and him and I never agreed. I tried to convert him, but he tried harder to convert me. But the truth of the matter is, I've been there all my life in the Macedonian question. I've been involved all my life. Like I say, the first president of Macedonian Republic was Lazo Kuruzhevsky. When I went over there, behind the scenes, and I smuggled into Yugoslavia at that time, I met Cento.
You met Cento?
Yes, and I tell you something, he was a real leader of Macedonia. It is too bad. It is too bad that he didn't succeed, because he was a true leader and he was out to accomplish. Trudeau betrayed him, and so did Lazo Kuruzhevsky when they closed the border on him.
They closed the border so he could not?
Well, according to him, he told me that he wanted to go all the way to Asia and Macedonia and to Salonika, not Solon, to Koster.
Kostur?
to Kostur, and he felt he could achieve to reach Kostur
With his army?
with his army.
This was the
But
Macedonian army.
only if he was going to get further help from Macedonia. And they promised him that they would. And so he almost arrived at the border of Kostur, and Yugoslavia closed the border.
And who promised him? Sorry, can you tell us again?
Chento promised him at the, what's his name? Lazar Kurashevsky. And they were fighting amongst themselves. Dimitar Vlachov, for example, was on his side. Lazar Kurashevsky was really on Tito's side, and he was a Serbian agent, really. And Lazar Kurashevsky's wife, who was the sister of Mitko Chalovsky, she was a real patriotka. And she said, my husband, Lazar Kurashevsky, was a Serboman. Yeah. She says we used to fight all the time.
And yes, that's thank you for that insight. That's very important about Chento. It's very emotional, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, Chento was a true leader, and Chento would have accomplished what he was set out to do if Yugoslavia didn't close the border.
So they closed the border.
Oh, they closed the border, started cutting them off ammunition and everything.
Yes. Now, if we can just go back to some of the other people that have that you've been, involved with to help the Macedonian cause. What role has Chris Palieri played in the community and in advancing the Macedonian cause?
Chris has played a big part in the human rights to start with. Chris is a believer of human rights, period. He's a natural-born believer of human rights, so he automatically got involved himself at the start. It wasn't because of me or influence of any other Macedonian, it was himself. And he started going to all these different events throughout the world on his own expense. But he's very conscientious and wanted to be involved and did get involved and has always helped. And he's a real true volunteer of Macedonia.
And what is your opinion, Mr. Bitove, of the work of CMP that it's doing and continuing to do?
Well, I think that hopefully we're accommodating people that need it and that it's assisting them and helping them. What shocks me is I see some people that are staying here today that were real enemies of it and boycotted it in many, many ways. And now I see that they're living here, and I find it a joke.
Okay, and I know you mentioned your involvement with Macedonia, and certainly that involvement is very much very strong right from the beginning, as you said, with your meeting some of Macedonia's true leaders like Chento. You continued your involvement with in helping Macedonia. There was an initiative to bring medicine and drugs for Macedonia and food for Macedonia. Can you tell us about that initiative?
Well, we organized a large fundraiser at the Sky Dome, and I forget the amount of money we raised, but we raised a large, substantial amount of money. And my family paid for the airplane expense to send it over. And then my son John and Stan Thomas and a bunch organized another fundraiser for medicine. And I know our family paid for that plane load to take the medicine over. Mm-hmm. So they were in need of medicine. They didn't have it, and we raised whatever we could and sent whatever we could.
Mm-hmm. And I know, Mr. Bitove, that there was the Canadian Macedonian Federation, the Canadian Macedonian Federation, and the idea and funds for a cultural center. Can you tell us what has evolved or what has happened to that kind of an idea?
I really don't know. I resigned from it a number of years ago. Mm-hmm. because at that point in time I got involved in the independence of Macedonia. And that was taking up all my time, and so I really resigned from it. What they've done with it and who runs it now, I have no idea.
Because the idea of a cultural center is certainly enticing, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think if they had carried on, I don't know if anybody's doing anything about it, but yes, there was a real need for it.
Real excellent idea, absolutely. And your work and your heart being in Macedonia has definitely, right from the start, as you said, you worked hard for the Macedonian community, and you're continuing to do so now with your involvement with UMD, United Macedonian Diaspora, based in Washington. Can you tell us a little bit about that organization and why you're keen to support them?
Well, I think they're the only qualified organization right now that we have in the world. And I met most of the individuals that are part of it, and I respect them, and they seem to be intelligent, sincere, and want to help the Macedonian question. They're working close with the government over there. They're not like other organizations creating hard feelings with the government, but they're working with the government. And they seem to be doing good for Macedonia. And they seem to be real nice people and very devoted and very sincere. And so as long as they are that way, I will support them, and so will my family.
And what is your advice for the Macedonian community in general, from all your experience in working in the community and the many challenges and successes that you've had?
Well, I guess my advice is, if we could respect one another and respect the cause. If we respected the cause, we'd respect one another more. And that's what it's really all about. And I believe that in the past and the future, we've had too many egomaniacs, and everybody wants to do their own thing. Macedonia is a country that needs help from a lot of people, and the stronger and more united our people are to assist, the sooner it will accomplish what it has intended.
And you're truly an example of a successful Canadian Macedonian businessman, entrepreneur, who really comes from an immigrant experience, immigrant Macedonian parents who came to Canada, like many of our parents. What advice do you have, Mr. Bitove, for the young Macedonian entrepreneurs?
Well, first and foremost is you must be a good Canadian if you live in Canada. We owe it to this country. This country is good to us, and we should be in turn respectful to it. Secondly, I think we owe it to our heritage and our generation to assist the Macedonian cause. All one has to do is read about it and see the sacrifices and what the people have gone through there. I think it's sad that it hasn't been able to be united and become an independent country with all the rights that the one part of it exists today, which is the Republic of Macedonia, as we know it today. I think that if Macedonia was united, really, I think it would be one of the most beautiful countries in the world. I think it's prettier than Switzerland. I've traveled Switzerland, and I've traveled all of Macedonia. I've traveled the Beating part, I've traveled the three different parts, and I think Macedonia is one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and it's too bad that it doesn't get the opportunity to have its own independence.
Have you had an opportunity to take your children and your grandchildren to see Macedonia? Everybody?
All of them.
That's wonderful. And Mr. Bitove, what would you say you're most proud of? I know there are many accomplishments that we mentioned just within this short period of time, and we can go on and on. But most proud of, and you can qualify that.
Two things.
Yes, sure.
My wife and family. That's what I'm most proud of. I am so fortunate. Married the woman I married and have the children that I have. I am just a lucky person.
And the Canadian Macedonian Place, in terms of its evolving and continuing its good work?
Well, I'll always be proud of things that we accomplish with the name Macedonian on them, and naturally I'm proud of Canadian Macedonian Place. I feel part of it, and anything we could do with Macedonian I'd be proud of. So, Canadian Macedonian Place to me is just part of me.
Thank you. That's a wonderful way of ending our interview for now.
You're welcome.
And we really appreciate you taking the time to join us here at Canadian Macedonian Place to have this interview for the archives of the Canadian Macedonian Historical